IVM.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, a life coach, a business mentor, and a motivational speaker. I tackle the challenges that come with varied work cultures, and I try to give out some cheat codes for loving your job in the second season of the Empowering series with me, Zarina. This show will feature live sessions with me and a participant, most likely to be an entrepreneur, a startup founder, an employee, a recruiter, or just about anyone who strives to love their job and looks forward to bringing in a positive shift at their workplace. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Neetu Ailsinghani. Hello, Neetu.
Hi, Zarina.
Neetu she's been in the corporate industry for a very, very long time, and she's the head of KYC operations in a reputed multinational organization. Also, Neetu is a very feisty, dynamic, and resilient personality because she's a single parent, a single mom, and she's been running this work-life balance so beautifully. I've seen it over a period of time myself. So I didn't think of anybody else to call on the show, Neetu, to empower all our parents out there, especially the single moms, to be able to understand how they should live a life, have a purpose for themselves, and also be able to raise a child beautifully. And I think you are proof of concept. We've kind of seen that with you. So, Neetu, please tell us about your journey as a single parent.
I think the journey is still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I've crossed so far has been really fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me when I say this, that a child brings purpose to your life.
That's right.
When I had my daughter, I had absolutely no clue of what I'm going to do for my career.
Okay.
I was still trying to struggle and figure out what is it that I want to do. But when I was seeing her grow, her demands were increasing in terms of her schooling, extracurricular activities, bringing her up in an environment that she deserves,
Right.
Gave me motivation to move forward in my own career, because obviously I had to procure back
and provide
in the household. Yeah. So if I look back at my journey and if someone asks me, how did you reach here? I think it was Prakriti, my daughter, who made me come so far. I had absolutely no clue that I would be sitting here talking to you like this, heading a 75 plus member KYC team.
Right.
And doing so far so good.
Right. So it's been, so when I say a single parent journey, I'm basically talking about, we have a lot of parents out there, single moms, and I'd like to focus on the single moms as a community of women who are trying to provide for their kids as well as give their children the time, because time is of the essence. How do you manage that?
Yeah, and Zarina, the very, very word single mom actually doesn't go really well with me, because my idea of a mother and a father are just two separate people
entities
with different genders doing the same kind of job, which is parenting their children.
Right.
Now, with two hands or with multiple hands, it becomes easy for us to do the same job.
Right.
However, it is not that as a single person, as an individual, you cannot still do the same parenting job well. You can do it. And you just have to figure out a plan of how you're going to spend the time with your child and how you're going to, at the same time, concentrate on your career. Now, I would like to have a special mention that my domestic help came in very handy while my daughter was growing. So mundane jobs of, taking care of the house, cleaning the house, picking her up from the bus stop, is something that she would do for me.
Right.
And while I was working in office, I was 100% confident, okay, somebody's there feeding my child. Somebody's there, to take care of the house. So as much as I give credit to my daughter, I think my domestic help, who was with me for over 10 years while my daughter was growing, was a huge support for me.
So that's a long time. I think a support system really helps to push things forward,
yes,
right? Just helps to...
So I outsourced a lot of my mundane domestic jobs to her so that I could spend time while, I come back from office. Cooking, cleaning,
all those things.
And as time passed, I think internet also did help me. Most of my grocery, vegetable, etc. shopping was online.
Oh, you started using the online portals?
Yes.
Wow, that's good.
And I saved a lot of time. I was the first person to jump on any application that would save my time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great insight, actually. I don't think many people would have thought of that as a time saver when it comes to something like this,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's retail therapy or just online shopping, but the fact that you're saving time through it is quite interesting.
Yes. So for me, the only kind of shopping that I did physically was always with my daughter. Okay. And for her, where we had to buy her clothes or something like that. Otherwise, my routine shopping was completely online, and I saved a lot of time so that I can be with her, read her books, watch TV with her, go out for a movie with her, etc., etc.
How beautiful.
And I think that's where maximum bonding happens. Between two people, whether it's your daughter or it's your partner or it's your mother, father, anybody.
That's absolutely true, Neetu. The reason I brought up the word single parenting is because a lot of people resonate with the thought that you're alone and you have to fend, and that's something I'm glad that you brought up in a very different light, that it's two individuals actually raising children or raising a child in their own capacity, in their own responsible or dutiful way. It doesn't have to be a single parent outlook, right?
Not necessarily.
I like that. That makes sense.
If you look at the entire system or the family structure, parents are two people who come together and raise a child. Right?
True.
Now, because of the natural instinctive behaviors that they both carry, they both have divided their work accordingly. All the caring and the sensitivity and the morality building part of the child comes from the mother.
Right.
Okay, where she gives a peaceful, growing, healthy environment to the child to grow in a healthy way.
Right.
Yeah, while the father, because of the, again, natural instinctive behavior, goes out, procures and provides for the family, right? And as I said, multiple hands just makes it the job easier, right? But that does not mean that either of the parent cannot take over the other person's job. And I'm talking here from both the sides.
Right.
As a single mother, I can always take over the, important function of a father, of procuring, providing, giving the mettle of character to the child, where the child looks up to what he or she wants to become. Right? That's the first, everybody sees their father as the first model in their life. At the same time, even the father can take over role of a mother.
Of course.
Where, he becomes that person who tells stories, builds the morality and the character through storytelling, through walking the talk, at times cooking for the child to kind of tell the child that it's, at the end of the day, it's just a job. You need not associate it with the gender.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yes.
And I think when I understood this crux, I could perform my parenting job much better. That's one thing. Secondly, what made my parenting easier for my child was, from the very beginning, I started treating her as an individual.
That's
rather
lovely.
than somebody whom I'm supposed to be so-called protective, and I'm using protective with quotes, because the moment you use the word protective for parents, the picture that comes up with most of the parents is, oh, I have to pick her up from the school, I have to help her with the project work, I have to help her with the studies, etc., etc. That's what protective most of the time mean for parents. Whereas if you just change the definition of that word for the relationship, it gives a different meaning to the relationship.
Absolutely, yes.
Right? So for me, protective was ensuring that she has enough resources to grow up, ensuring that she has access to information and resources that help her for her own development.
Right.
Giving her scenarios, situations where she could take her own decisions and also instantly realize the outcome or the consequences of those decisions.
Right.
Yeah. Talking about what's going on in my career, talking about this is the job offer, but these are the pros and these are the cons. What do you think? What should be done? How is it going to impact you?
Involving her in your decision making and so just making her feel like an integral part of all the decisions you take.
Absolutely.
You're not treating her like very childlike, or you don't have you're not mature enough to have a conversation.
Yeah. See, the
about
only
these
difference
things.
that a child does not, or between you and a child, the only difference I feel is the experience of X number of years that you have lived longer than the child.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the cognitive development is there. She has access to, as I said, information. She has access to logical reasoning.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that's one thing which I think I kind of instigated a lot, where she started thinking and reasoning a lot of stuff. And that's where I think there was a mutual respect in the relationship, where I was respecting her as much as she was respecting me, and it still continues.
And that's beautiful, isn't it? So, Neetu, I think when you're looking at a journey, like you said, so the parenting journey doesn't stop, and I believe it just doesn't stop, right? It's a lifelong thing. You may have gone through your set of ordeals in the initial stages, where maybe, a couple of challenges, obstacles, things that you might have had to face. What do you think are the common factors, that we kind of see in our society or in our workspaces or homes with something like this?
The first and foremost thing is when you talk about separation between two people, and there is this child who's born out of two people, okay? And of course there's an impact on that child.
Of course. Okay.
How do you deal with that impact is the key of how your child is going to survive through that. एक तो है कि the moment, and I think that's also because of social pressure.
Right.
The moment you talk about separation, it's seen in a negative way, number one.
That's right,
okay?
Yes.
A child needs a compact house. A child needs two people to be raised. Then comes the categorization of who's good, who's bad. Or is the mother bad? Or is the father bad? Okay, those two things start impacting the child more than the actual separation.
Sure, and negatively.
Right. So once the parents realize that by staying together, we are doing probably more harm to the child, as in providing child with a healthy environment.
Right.
The moment you realize that I'm doing more bad by staying together than good for any of the members, that's the time you should take that step, according to me, and make the child realize that it's not that your father is bad or your mother is bad.
That's very important.
It's just that they are two different individuals who try to stay together, but could not. Okay, and because of they not being able to put things together, there is negativity around, which is impacting the child.
Sure.
Okay, बहुत बार आप सुनोगे बच्चों के मुंह से कि now children have become so open-minded that they come to their parents and say, what, नहीं बनता है ना, छोड़ दो.
Right.
I'm not talking about only my daughter. I see people around, and I see her friends. I've been seeing her friends. The kind of conversations that she had were like, Prakriti, you're lucky. At least your mother took a decision.
Wow.
Yeah. Those were the kind of phrases that she would have to hear from her growing girls around in school, which tells you a lot about the mentality of parents who are stuck together
in a marriage
because they think they're doing good to the child.
Right.
Yes.
I'd say, is it also a lot of pressure from society and peers to just, because this is a concept. It doesn't only go to people who have children and are now not getting along, Neetu. But I've also seen this in terms of, recently, I mean, I've got a client and they're not really, so it's a couple thing and they're not really getting along with each other. Everybody in the family gives them advice, have a child, everything will get better. Or, so it's something that starts from a very young time in a marital status where you either have a child to make things better or you have to stick in your marriage to make sure that everything is good for the child.
देखो यार, दो बातें हैं. There are two main reasons to it. Okay, the moment you have ripples in the relationship, and especially in a marriage, yes, the first thing that anybody will tell you is it's time for you to have a child.
Right.
Okay. Uska reasoning do hai, because this thing is something that even I've faced.
You have, okay.
Very early in my marriage, we had problems, and whenever we would want to discuss it with family or with very close friends, the only solution I got is, why don't you have a kid? Okay. Reason number one, it diverts your attention from the problem.
Right.
Okay. You have a child, you get busy raising the child. You divert all your emotional so-called epicenter from the partner to the child. Okay?
Right.
Phir, that problem is there.
It's not addressed.
But you're not focusing on it.
Yeah,
you're focusing on something else. But the problem still lies.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the truth of the matter.
Right.
So, एक तो आपका ध्यान हटाने के लिए लोग कहते हैं ठीक है, have a kid.
Yeah.
And secondly, somewhere in our society we believe that if you have a child, it will be very difficult for either of the partners to move away. Okay?
Yes.
When you don't have an issue, separation becomes easier than to have a child. And
so there's a slight non-committal factor involved there that, okay, it's easier to just...
Yeah, but then look at it from this side. I am getting a life into the world just because I am not committed enough to the relationship.
Exactly.
What kind of reasoning is that to have a child?
That's what I'm asking,
Right? And why do I even need to create stakeholders?
Right.
Okay. आज भी मैं बहुत लोगों को सुनती हूँ. They are unhappy in their marriages and they'll say, "अरे, I'm in this marriage for my children. Okay, I'm in this marriage for my parents."
Right.
And so on. Stop making stakeholders. You got into marriage. जब आपने शादी करी थी, तब आपने नहीं सोचा था कि आपके बच्चे होंगे और आपके बच्चे कैसे होंगे.
Exactly.
Okay, you wanted to get married to the partner. You
so
got
true.
married. End of the story. Decisions go wrong. You misjudge people. Yeah, that's part of growing up.
And that's life.
And yeah, so take it as a bad decision and deal with it instead of making stakeholders and then trying to have this, guilt-soothing concept that, oh, you know what, I don't want to be in this marriage, but I'm in this marriage because my children are there, so they need... No. Why do we make stakeholders? Because when we got married, there were two people getting married. Right? You never thought about your parents at that point in time. You never thought about children at that point in time. At that point in time, you just wanted to be together and spend rest of your life together. Right. That was the only thought process you had, and you got married.
Sure. Then, now that you mentioned, the guilt that people kind of put across, and they make you feel emotionally very burdened. Have you ever felt that kind of guilt? Maybe not now, but initially at any point?
Big time. In fact, I'm a victim of that guilt.
Are you?
My separation took really long. Really, really long. So there was a phase in my life which lasted for almost 7 to 8 years, where we were separate physically, emotionally, at every level, but we were just staying in the same house with the same, as I said, because I was also in that mode of stakeholder management where I said, oh, meri beti ke liye main, I'm pulling on. So
you pulled off 7-8 years?
Yes, I did. I did. In the same house, in different rooms. As I said, we were disconnected and separated at every level. But we were just there because, we need to sustain this unit called family, right? But as I said, as the child grows in such an environment, even the child understands. As I said, the only thing that's different between you and your child is the experience.
Right.
He's as smart as you are, probably smarter than you are. Okay. He also has the same thinking ability, the same reasoning ability that God gifted you with.
Sure.
So he's also able to put 2 plus 2 together and see, okay, what's happening. He may not contest you as a parent, give you that respect and space, but deep down he understands that something is wrong. This is not normal.
Yes.
This is
There's
not
a disturbance, and it
this
needs
is
to be addressed.
unlike my other friends' parents, right? And in the bargain, the child starts victimizing himself or herself, saying, I am the reason that my parents are in this situation today. Right? I've seen that phase also for a very little time with my daughter, saying that it's because of me that you both are together, and I really don't want to see you guys together like this.
Right. Okay.
Right. So, as I said, because of that guilt-laden decisions that we take, thinking हम बच्चों के लिए कर रहे हैं, हम माता पिता के लिए कर रहे हैं, doesn't work, because how the other person is taking is something that you don't have control on.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
most importantly, most of the time we don't even bother to figure it out.
Oh yeah, it is our assumption of what the
Yes.
other person is feeling.
Yes.
It's not truly or factually
Yes.
what the other person is
And
feeling.
then, it'll hurt you when you have kids big enough to talk to you about all this. Years down the line, when you are aging and when you are at a midlife crisis already, at that time it hits you back, where the child comes and says, "मैंने कहा था करने के लिए.
हाँ.
Did I ask you to do it for me?"
Right.
No. Don't make me party to it.
Right.
I was afraid of that one sentence
Statement.
all my life.
Okay.
That I don't want to hear this from my child. कि मैंने थोड़ी कहा था करने के लिए. Why are you putting it on me? You did it. It was your decision. You wanted to be great. It was your decision.
Right.
Greatness comes with its own price tag. Deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually so true, because not only waiting for them to kind of grow older, but you do see that trend already. Like you mentioned, if you've seen your daughter having conversation with her friends and the kids are already saying that it was good that your mom's made the right decision, or at least she came up with a decision, that itself tells you that they don't want to be party to this.
Correct.
They're happy to move out, be in a secluded or individual space. And I believe in today's day and age, people are slightly more individualistic also. They like their space.
Thanks to so-called easy access to knowledge,
Right.
easy access to information. You read about it. World has shrunk. You see things around. You hear stories. You watch them on internet, or in movies or television serials. You get impacted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite strongly impacted, in fact, isn't it? Okay. So, Neetu, how old is your daughter?
Oh, she'll be 18 this January.
Wow. So, do you have teen troubles with her?
Yes, I have my share.
Could you share some of the instances with us, please?
Oh, indecisiveness.
Meaning you or her?
Oh,
Okay.
obviously. So she would decide something and it would be like 2 hours with that decision. She's like, oh, I want to talk about it again.
Okay.
Oh, but we decided 2 hours ago. No, I want to again go
Discuss
back
this,
to
yeah.
it. All right. Big time mood swings. Okay. Because understand, this is the time where physically there's a lot of hormonal change in the body.
Sure.
So there's a lot of chemical reaction in the body due to which they have a lot of mood swings. And at this point in time, as parent, whether it's a mother or a father or both, the only thing that you can do for your child is be around.
Yeah.
And not be reactive to most of what he or she is doing.
Yes.
Unless you see that it's time for you to step in.
And there is also one more thing that I realize, Neetu, with teenagers, which I usually tell the parents that come to me, is that do not breach their trust.
Yes.
When they tell you something in confidentiality, it is very important for you to realize that it's just for you, for your ears, and they have trusted you and shared something so important in their lives. You cannot breach their trust. Small examples that, acha, meri beti ne mujhe ye bata diya. Acha, you have an idea about this. Acha, main kya karu? Those are things that we might find very loose in conversation, but for them, it's a major deal at this point. It's their life.
Absolutely nailed
right?
it. Yes.
Right. So I think breaching trust and confidentiality is very important at this age to understand where you stand. Right.
Which is very surprising. And as I said, that's where when you start looking at your kids as individuals, you would not do all these things.
Right.
When we share something with them, or there is a showdown at home between parents, we expect the child not to discuss this with anyone else outside the house.
Right.
Right?
Right.
However, on the other hand, if the child comes and talks to you about anything, you would want to go and discuss it on WhatsApp groups and, talk to your ladies group about it, which actually doesn't go well with the child. So you're not walking the talk. You're expecting something from the child. You have to give that. It's always give and then take. It's never take and then give.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a teenage daughter that you're dealing with. Now, with your daughter, do you think it would have been very different if you had a son? Or is this experience something that has changed your life?
It gives me jitters.
Really?
Trust me, yes.
And why is that?
I believe that this gender similarity between me and my daughter has given me a lot of edge and a lot of comfort in the relationship.
Okay.
Right? She sees me exactly the way she is physically. Right. So it's easier for us to connect. I mean, look back. We were always very close to our mothers than our father, right?
Right.
Though we looked up to our father, but our mothers were that one person where we would go, pakado her pallu and say, I want to talk about something. So I think, God has been kind that I had a daughter to raise than a son.
Okay.
I think he would have come with his own situations where I would not know what's happening with him, because I have been never grown up as a boy. I always grew up as a girl, right?
So understanding or empathizing with them would be...
That looking back and saying, okay, ye sab mere saath ho chuka hai, so I know what you're talking, is very easy to kind of relate to with a daughter. Then I think it would have been with a son, because I could never go back and say, ye mere saath ho chuka hai.
Right. Yeah, maybe you couldn't do that. But let's assume that you have to give some kind of advice to those mums who have sons. So what would your advice be, apart from the jitters that you've not got?
Two things. Trust your child, because your child trusts you. If he is with you, he trusts you. Okay. So trust him and talk to him openly about everything that you want to. Okay.
Right.
That gender inequality, when I say, or gender difference rather, inequality is a wrong word. That gender difference should not kind of taint or color your conversations with him.
Okay, sure.
Somewhere you have to work towards getting there, saying, so what, I'm a mother. Okay, or so what, my gender is different from yours. Let's talk about things that you want to talk about, or you may want to talk about. Okay, and I will come up with entire respect for whatever you say. Okay?
Right.
Don't shy away from having difficult conversations with them. Those conversations could be friends at college, new girlfriends, studies,
everything that can
including
relate
failures,
to them. Yeah, that's
including
important.
failures. Let's talk about it. Okay, so what that you failed? All of us have seen failure. It's part of life. So I think it'll be difficult for a single mother to kind of put that strong point up where she has to actually shed that gender and become absolutely neutral.
Right.
For the boy to see her as neutral and then have conversation. I think that's where
that sounds great. All right. So on that note, we've had a conversation about you, your journey, your ordeals, your daughter, and much of what you've seen, and it's been inspiring so far. Let's take a short break and come back right after that.
Sure.
Hello and welcome to another awesome week at the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Don't forget to take a screenshot of whatever podcast of ours that you're listening to. Take a screenshot and put in a comment about what you think about the show, and we will reshare it from our social media pages. Here's what's in store for you this week. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by Chef Vinesh Johnny, co-founder of Levon Academy. He talks to Cyrus about what goes into running a pastry school and how his life led him to be a pastry chef. On Ganatantra, hosts Alok and Sarayu are joined by Dr. Andrew Whitehead to discuss the various implications of the repeal of Article 370 and the complicated history and future of Kashmir. On 9XM Soundcast, host Eva Bhatt is in conversation with music composer and singer Clinton Cerejo. Clinton shares his journey from producing ad jingles to composing Bollywood soundtracks and being invited to Berklee School of Music. On Paperback, Racheta and Satyajit talk to playwright and poet Nikhil Katara about absurd plays and Kafka's letters that have influenced him. On the Pragati podcast, Sambit Das joins Pawan Srinath to talk about medical education and the NMC Act. Just a little announcement, the new episodes of Pragati podcast will be available every Wednesday starting next week. On the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast, Varun, Ashwin and DJ are discussing England's struggle in the Ashes, Nathan Lyon's performance, the retirements of Dale Steyn, Hashim Amla and Brandon McCullum, and also the India-West Indies T20 matches. On Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Janice and Anirudh talk about The Great Hack, The Loudest Voice and The Final Year, stories that have starred Donald Trump. On Marbles Lost and Found, Zain and Avanti talk to former IVM staffer Janam Dewan about grief and loss. And with that, let's get you back onto your show.
Hello and welcome back to the Empowering series with me, Zarina. I'm still in conversation with Neetu Ailsinghani, and we've been talking about parenting, we've been talking about work, we've been talking about how to raise a teenager, I guess at this point, right, Neetu? And you've shared such amazing, valuable things with us so far. Why don't you tell us something about the enjoyable and the gratifying moments during your parenting?
Oh yeah, I'll share a small anecdote.
Right.
When she was very young, she was almost 4 years.
Okay.
And I'll relate it back to what I said. Start treating your children as individuals.
Right.
She was 4, and it was a Saturday morning. Saturday is a week off for me. So I was making breakfast in the morning. She wakes up, she comes to me, she gives me a hug, and she says, I want chocolate.
Okay.
I said, no, first we'll have breakfast and then you have chocolate. No, I want to have chocolate now.
Okay.
I said, no, we'll first have breakfast, then have chocolate. If you don't give me chocolate now, मैं घर छोड़ के चली जाऊंगी.
This was when she was 4.
4.
Okay.
She must have seen it on the TV or something like that.
Picked it up from somewhere, yeah.
So, आप मुझे chocolate नहीं दोगे तो मैं घर छोड़ के चली जाऊंगी. If you look at this particular dialogue, it's just a kid telling you something that she's picked up from TV.
Right.
But I saw this as the first power struggle between her and me. Yeah. And if I had given into that power struggle, she would have been the one taking all the shots for the rest of the life.
Yes.
So I said, ठीक है, जाओ. मैं चली जाऊंगी सच में. Jao. She saw that Ma is not nudging at all. So she also being my daughter, अब बोल दिया है तो करना तो है.
अच्छा.
So she picked up, she used to be in pre-nursery, right? She picked up her bag. She put on this one dress that she really liked. She packed only that dress, put her toothbrush, packed it, कंधे पे उठाया बस्ता and मैं जा रही हूँ. जाओ. देखो मैं जा रही हूँ. जाओ. I was cool as a cucumber.
Very calm.
I had a safety door. Okay, I had a main door and a safety door. Safety door was closed and the main door was always open. She opened the safety door and she walked out. घर से निकलते ही लेफ्ट की तरफ लिफ्ट है. वहां जाके I'm sure she would have stood there, or she would go down. She would not go outside the building for sure because there's a security guard there.
Okay.
So I was that way. होगी तो यहीं कहीं होगी. 10 मिनट, 15 मिनट, 20 मिनट, जोर से रोने की आवाज आई. माँ मुझे आके लेके जाओ. I went to the door and I said, did I ask you to go? No. I said, who went? I said, it's your decision to come back. Yes. I said, then come back. Door is open. I will not call you. And I will not come and pick you as well. And the shart still remains that it will be first breakfast, then chocolate. Decide, then come inside the house.
Right.
She just ran inside the house.
How cute.
And we had breakfast. Then obviously we had chocolate. Because it's very important, whatever you say to your child or commit to your child, make sure you fulfill it.
Right.
Because that's how she or he learns the value of word.
Very important.
Right?
Very important. Yeah, absolutely.
So, small incident, but gave me a great learning that I have to start treating her as individual for her to understand what's happening in her life at very early stage. Similarly, she was in the same pre-nursery. I would drop her to the nursery school and then go to my office. And then the maid would pick her up in the afternoon, late mornings. Once the teacher called me saying, when you drop your child tomorrow morning, just come and have a word with me.
Okay.
ठीक है. Next day morning I meet the teacher and the teacher says, I have made her learn so many rhymes. And when I ask her to tell me a poem, she just doesn't. घर पे बताती है क्या? I said, of course. रोज शाम को मुझे पकाती रहती है बता के आज मैंने ये वाला poem सीखा, आज मैंने वो वाला poem सीखा. And she kind of goes on and on with it.
Okay.
Till she hits bed. यहाँ तो she doesn't. I looked at my daughter and said, Prakriti, you tell me all the poems, you sing them like right from evening till night. Why don't you say the same things to your teacher? She looked at me very innocently and she said, एक बार मैंने टीचर को बताया ना, उनको याद नहीं होता है तो मैं क्या करूं? मुझे तो याद है. So innocently, she said the right thing. And that's where her reasoning power actually comes in. She was able to reason that, hello, you taught me once, I remembered it. You asked me once, I told you. You can't ask me the same thing again and again.
Right.
Don't you remember it? So it was a very reasoning or a logical question that she asked. And trust me, what I did was this. I looked at the teacher and I said, deal with this question for me. Because if I deal with it, it will not put you in a good light.
Right.
And I will not lie to the child. Right. So I said, deal with this question. And teacher then started taking this situation differently. So from next day onwards, she said, I like to hear it from you. Tell me once again.
Okay.
And then
the approach was entirely different this time.
Yes.
That's great. Do you do holidays with your daughter?
Oh yeah, she's my partner in crime for everything, whether it's indulging into food, shopping, movies. We both are big movie buffs.
Okay.
Off late, she's been busy with her 12th standard studies, but she's been my movie partner all this while that I've watched movies. Last year, in 2017, we took the Everest Base Camp trek together.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think in my group, she was the youngest to do the Everest Base Camp. She was only 16 then.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a wonderful experience, walking together, trekking, taking care of each other. Okay. In those... I won't say the environment was pretty harsh or something like that. We had basics to manage, but it was not a luxury up there.
Right.
You have to sleep in your own sleeping bag. You have to carry your own sleeping bag up to the top. There's no concept of washrooms out there. You have to...
bare necessities, basically. You're surviving in those.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone has their own speed to walk up there. right? Age was on her side. She was faster than me. So she would always look back. Is my mother around? Is she there? She would take care of all those because she has seen me taking care while she was young.
Sure.
Right? So I don't remember मैं कभी 5-6 साल के बाद I've ever held her hand and walked. I would always make her independent, but be around her to see if she's around, what is she doing and stuff like that. It was a great bonding exercise taking that Everest Base Camp with her.
How
it
beautiful.
Was an experience.
Wow. Okay. So, Neetu, coming towards the end of our segment, what is the advice you would like to give to all the wonderful parents out there, especially the ones who are raising their children by themselves or independently, or they don't have the means or support systems that we're talking about, or just maybe not having a partner at this point in time to help in raising their child? What is your advice to these people?
You can provide for your children's school fees, books, uniforms, etc., etc. I think the main guilt, if I could say, that comes up between a single parent and the child is not spending enough time.
Right.
You don't know what's happening in their life. They don't know what's happening in your life. And that's where the major challenge comes in. And here are a few tips that you can do to try and get more time with your child. Number one is, as I said, whatever you can outsource, especially your mundane jobs.
Sure.
Okay. You can always earn more money. You'll get a promotion, you'll get a raise, you'll get more money. But the time that you've lost with your child, you will not get it again.
Right.
Okay. So don't look at it money versus the time. It is the value of time to your child. Second is while your child is studying, if you really want to be a part of his or her studies, try take up a study yourself.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So while my daughter was growing up, she was in class 6, 7.
Okay.
Even I underwent my post-graduation during that time. So I did my post-graduation in learning and development during the same time. So
great.
We would sit and study together every night for an hour or two. And that's where, again, we connected, where we talked about what problems is she facing in her studies and what problems am I facing in my studies. Because she looked at me as somebody who is in the same boat types.
Yes.
ठीक है, आपके साथ
she
भी
could
वही
relate.
हो रहा है, या जो मेरे साथ हो रहा है.
Correct.
So that's one thing. And it was, again, a good way of spending time together. Have conversations. It's not about coming back home and having dinner or watching TV.
Right.
You can put off the TV for 30 minutes of having dinner. Try having conversations. Don't shy away from talking difficult things to your child.
Okay? That's important.
Very, very important. And don't... one last and very important thing. The way we never are judgmental about our kids, trust me, our kids are also not judgmental about us. The way we want happiness for our kids want happiness for us. Right. It's very important for a child to see a smiling mother, a contented, happy mother, than someone who seems or who looks unhappy. And children get to know it. The vibes are so strong that children get to know it.
Right.
So even if you are tensed, even if you know that the other person may not understand, just communicate.
That's essential.
This is
absolutely.
the reason I am angry or I'm unhappy or this is what is going on.
And that it will pass.
Yeah.
It's not going to remain.
Yeah.
It's just it's momentarily.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
So these are few things that you can do.
Excellent. Lastly, Neetu, what is it that empowers you? So you're on the empowering series today, so we would like to know what empowers you.
The Lion King is my favorite movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
How cool.
I probably have seen all the versions of it.
Yeah.
I'm going for the latest this weekend. My favorite dialogue is, remember who you are.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's it's very important to figure out who you are, because that will tell you your ability, your one thing that others don't have, right? And the moment you figure that out, you will use the same thing to deal with all your situations and life at large.
Absolutely.
Okay? When I look back and when I try to answer this question, who am I have always seen myself with someone with a fighting spirit.
Right.
Okay. Jahan tak mera memory takes me. So I have always considered myself as a warrior. Right.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that empowers me, that thought that I am a warrior automatically leads me to make choices that a warrior would make. So when people come and tell me and sympathize or empathize with me, saying, "Oh, you're a single mother," maybe I had all of it. That's the reason I am single mother. Yeah?
Yes.
So knowing who you are will lead you or will empower you to understand why you're dealing with something in a particular way, because that's who you are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so deep and that is so beautiful. I think by far one of my favorite empower you questions or answers rather.
Thank you.
So what's really empowered me on today's show is your treasured and extremely generous, honest opinion, suggestions, advices, counsel. I think it's very important for parents out there to understand these things. Most of all, the one thing that you said, and I'd like to end this conversation on this note, it's important for every parent to be self-aware and have a certain amount of emotional intelligence, being able to deal with their own emotional intelligence, being self-aware. And exactly where you've put this, at the end of this conversation, remember who you are. And that's exactly what your child is going to remember you as and probably imbibe from you. So be self-aware, don't be guilty, be happy, and spread that happiness, right? And there is no right or wrong way of parenting. So just go out there and just be a parent, enjoy the journey. You'll learn and so will your kid. So all the best. And Neetu, thank you so very much. Like I said, extremely treasured and valuable thoughts you've shared with us today. Thank you very, very much for being on our show. And hope our listeners are going to have loads of tips, suggestions and fun when they listen to you.
Thank you, Zarina. I'm glad I could value add.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Careers in the new podcast series presented by Accenture. I'm your host, Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay. In this podcast series, we'll get you the latest and greatest in the world of technology that's shaping the future of business as we know it. We're talking intelligent platforms, cloud, AI, blockchain, extended reality, and a whole lot more. Every fortnight on Wednesdays, we'll have for you a hot topic with expert speakers from Accenture talking about top trends in the space, how these are changing the world and creating growth across industries. And importantly, we'll tell you how you can learn more, build your skills and expertise to grow and stay relevant in your career. Episodes out on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcast from.
Hello everyone, I'm Zain.
I'm Avanti.
And welcome back to a brand new season of Marbles Lost and Found.
A show on mental health and its stigma, and we're kind of making it an open conversation.
Pretty much, yeah. And we're really, really excited about this season because we have a number of guests on and we'll be talking about things like addiction,
grief, children and mental health.
Exactly, children and mental health. And our listeners have also written in
this
time.
Yes, and we have an episode dedicated to that.
Yes, and guys, thank you so much for writing and we really, really appreciate it.
And we're really excited for you to tune in on Tuesdays on the IVM website or app or wherever you get your podcasts from.
And you can find Marbles Lost and Found on Facebook, or you can find Marbles Lost and Found on Instagram as well. The handle being Marbles Podcast India.
Can't wait for you to tune in.
Thank you very much. See you guys soon.